The Detroit Red Wings are playing off against the Ottawa Senators later today. And for me personally, I'm going up against a few fantasy teams this week that have the likes of Brady Tkachuk and Josh Norris and stuff. So for my sake, I hope that the Red Wings are able to come out on top. And of course, I'm a Red Wings fan too, so there are certain biases that do exist there. But the Wings have been pretty good as of late, and it's been one of the bigger surprises with this team, just how quickly things can change after a coaching swap. From Derek Lalonde to Todd McLellan, obviously McLellan has had a pretty big amount of success throughout his tenure. The Wings have now won 5 in a row, and they're looking a lot better than they had, let's just say, 2-3 weeks ago. You gotta start wondering, what if they just made this coaching change sooner? What if Stevie Y pulled the plug just a few weeks before doing it the way he did? Anyway, maybe that's neither here nor there, but if the Wings end up missing the playoffs by 1 point again, then I think that's going to be the biggest what-if of the entire season. Regardless, though, I wanted to use this video as an opportunity to dive into some of the comments made by different Red Wings players, because a bunch of them recently spoke out about Todd McLellan in a recent interview on MLive.com. This was written and published by Ansar Khan from yesterday, January 6th, and I wanted to go out there and leave a link in the description. It's going to be there for y'all and your viewing pleasure. You know what else is linked in the description? It's the first one down there at the bottom. It's the ExpressVPN LEGO Rocks 99 affiliate link. So if you do have any sort of a VPN need, go out there and use my affiliate link. You can get some free months. You can help yourself out, help myself out as well. Everybody wins, everybody gets what they want. However, the article that we're going to be reading, Red Wings Offer Proof of How Fast Fortunes Can Turn, is also going to be linked. Let's go out there and read this. The piece talks about how, instead of playing out the string, the Red Wings have strung together a 4-game winning streak under new head coach Todd McLellan and are playing meaningful games. They have another on Tuesday where they host the Ottawa Senators, who are 2 points ahead of them. For sure, things change quickly, goalie Alex Lyon said. It's like you're so far down one week and then the next week it feels like you're on top of the world. But we've got to be careful of getting too high. We learned that lesson last year. It's not about the standings, it's not about the playoffs, it's about playing the right way and focusing on the process and having good practices. But certainly, it's a bit more fun to be playing when you're feeling like this. And, you know, I like the commentary there. He's taken the high road. He's given the higher perspective on this. But, you know, I'm going to go out there and maybe rebuttal a little bit. I think the playoffs do matter. It doesn't feel fair to say that the playoffs don't really matter. But anyways, Alex Lyon taking the high road here, talking about building good habits and finding more ways to do the right thing. And I guess coming from a guy like Lyon, who was one of the more valuable players for the Wings last season, it does inspire hope for people that are reading into the Wings and their situation, just trying to gauge their psyche, trying to understand what the team is feeling about their recent stretch. Obviously, they're feeling good. Like, no one's going to go out there and say that a team that's won 4 games in a row is feeling bad or down on themselves. But the article dives into how the Wings are having a little bit of a homestand, and they currently have the second toughest remaining schedule. Also, playing 23 of their final 39 games on the road. However, this is all outside noise to the players. They're focused on the day-to-day task of winning and playing games that matter in the standings. I've played on teams where you're kind of out of the playoffs with 20 games left, or it doesn't look very bright and it's not fun to play those games, Kane said. We kind of worked ourselves back into a position where we're playing these meaningful games, but that just shows how tight it is. I mean, things can change overnight. That's why every game is so important from here. And that is absolutely correct, too. We had spoken about this earlier in today's show with the Montreal Canadiens, but there are just however many points separating the Wings from the first wildcard spot. It's very tight, this Eastern Conference, between teams like Detroit, Philly, Columbus, Ottawa, Pittsburgh, Montreal, even Tampa's in there, and Boston. So it's a very close race, and whatever happens over the next, let's just say 2 weeks or so, could really set the momentum in place for what can be our playoff matchups in 2025. For Detroit, obviously they're just on the outside looking in, but a 4-game win streak definitely helps them out. And for Patty Kane, of course, he's talking about some of his older Chicago Blackhawks teams. Him and Taves and Keith and Sharp and all of those guys, they won their Stanley Cups before Kane and Taves signed on to huge deals. So there was a lot of, let's just say, potential for those teams to go far and do their damage, and that's what they did. They won 3 Stanley Cups in however many years, 2010, 2013, 2015, so 6 years. But for Kane in the latter parts of his Chicago days, yeah, sorry, the Blackhawks stunk, and that's kind of why Kane is referring to this in this particular way. Like, yeah, we have had teams in the past, or I've had teams in the past where you're playing with 20, 30 games left and you're just knowing that you're not going to make the playoffs and the games aren't really fun and you're just only playing because you want to get your numbers up and you want to see some pretty good results on paper. Like, it's not the most ideal way to go out there and do your business. But anyways, if we dive into some of the other comments made by Patty Kane, he goes out there and says this: "We're going to Winnipeg. Best team in the league, and I feel like everyone in the locker room felt that we could win that game. So I think our confidence is rising. Obviously, you gotta give credit where it's due. Todd's brought in a lot of energy and made some changes in our game that have definitely helped us. I think it's really helped us to play more aggressive, play more on our toes instead of a little bit sitting back. It hasn't been like he's come in and changed every single thing right away, but as time goes on, I think he takes time to implement some new things." And that, I think, has been one of the bigger motivators for success with this team. Play freaking hockey. You've played it your whole lives. Play freaking hockey. As we had said in the last video, it's like, what was Derek Lalonde telling these guys to do? Play something else? Play cricket? Anyways, let's dive back over into some other comments here. Alex Lyon sees the team in front of him playing with energy and organization and detail and passion. It's a lot of ands, but he goes out there and says, "I'm a big believer if you bring passion and energy and play with enthusiasm, that everything else will take care of itself," Lyon said. Finally, this article dives into some commentary by Todd McLellan, the man himself. Accountability comes into play a little bit now. Catching them when they become a little sloppy or slip. Catching them doing it right is important too, because you can't just harp on the negatives. I believe there's a pace in our game when we're playing properly, and I think there's a skill factor that exists in our game too. Are we prepared to build on it? Are we prepared to just sit on it? Or are we going to give it back, he said. One of those 3 things is going to happen. So, Todd McLellan going out there and giving this Wings team new fight, more pace, more skill that's brought out because of the pace and the effort. It's a nice combination, isn't it? And I think for a lot of Red Wings fans, it's more like an "oh, finally" moment. Watching this team string together the wins and doing all the things that they have been doing over the past little while here. So, for Todd McLellan, this is definitely, I think, the best scenario that we could have seen out of him and his situation. And I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, what you think about these comments made by Kane and Lyon in regards to the Red Wings and their recent build of success over here. Article's going to be linked in the description. We'll all have our eyes on the Sens and Red Wings game later on today, because of course we will be. I need to make sure my fantasy matchup goes well. Can this win streak extend to 5 against an Ottawa Senators team that is hot in the standings as well? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.